Right now, nearly 1 in 4 Americans has $0 saved for an emergency. Zero. And when a surprise $1,000 bill shows up, a car repair, an ER visit, a busted water heater, about a third of people say they'd have to borrow to cover it. That single gap is the difference between a bad week and a financial spiral that takes years to climb out of. It's why people with good incomes still live one flat tire away from a credit card avalanche. The fix has a name, an emergency fund, the most important, least glamorous account you'll ever build, and the foundation everything else sits on. Today, exactly how much you really need, where to keep it, and how to build one from nothing. Let's get into it. I'm Don Blake, and this is USAFinance, where we hand you everything you need to get, keep, and grow your money with nothing but sourced facts and plain English. This is education, not advice. We're not going to tell you what to buy or how to budget your life. We're going to show you what the data says about emergency savings, how much, where, and how, so you can build the cushion that fits your life. Here's why this comes before investing, before extra debt payments, before almost everything. Without a cash cushion, one surprise turns into debt, and debt undoes all your other progress. The emergency fund is what makes the rest possible. Every number today comes from Bankrate, the Federal Reserve, and the CFPB. Let's begin. So what exactly is an emergency fund? It's simple, a stash of cash you set aside for one job only, covering unexpected, urgent, necessary expenses. Think of it as your financial shock absorber. When life hits a pothole, and it always does, the emergency fund absorbs the blow, so it doesn't wreck the rest of your finances. Instead of reaching for a credit card at 20+% interest, you reach for money you already have. The key word is emergency. This is not your vacation fund, not your new couch fund, not your someday money. It's money that sits quietly, boring, and untouched until the day you genuinely need it. That discipline, leaving it alone, is the whole point. Let's talk about why it matters so much. Why does this one account matter more than almost any other? Because without it, every surprise becomes debt. Picture two people, same income, same bills. One has a cash cushion, the other has nothing set aside. The car breaks down, a $1,200 repair. The first person pays cash and forgets about it by next week. The second puts it on a credit card and starts paying interest, sometimes for years. That's the emergency fund in one sentence. It turns a disaster into an inconvenience. The reason two people with identical paychecks can end up in completely different financial universes. And the data shows most Americans are living without that cushion. Let's look at how exposed people are. Before we talk amounts, let's be crystal clear about what actually counts as an emergency, because misusing the fund is the most common mistake. A real emergency is three things at once: unexpected, necessary, and urgent. A job loss, a medical bill, a car repair you need to get to work, an urgent home fix like a failed furnace in winter, a last-minute flight for a family crisis. Here's what is not an emergency: a vacation, a holiday, a great sale, a new phone, concert tickets, or a bill you knew was coming. Those are planned expenses. You save for those separately. If you'd feel silly explaining the purchase to a stern accountant, it's probably not an emergency. Guard this money. Now the reality, straight from Bankrate's 2026 report, and it's sobering. Nearly 1 in 4 Americans, about 24%, has no emergency savings at all. Only about 46% have enough to cover even 3 months of expenses. And more than half, around 56%, carry more credit card debt than they have in emergency savings. 60% of Americans say they're uncomfortable with how little they've saved. And when hit with a surprise $1,000 expense, only about 3 in 10 could cover it straight from savings. So if your emergency fund is thin, you are not alone, and you are not behind some secret standard everyone else has met. Most people are exposed. The goal is simply to be one of the ready ones. Let's put a real price on going without one, because be prepared is easy to ignore until you feel the cost. With no cushion, a surprise expense goes on a credit card, and the average card charges around 20% interest or more. A $1,200 repair carried for a year can quietly cost you hundreds in interest alone. Worse is the domino effect. One emergency becomes debt. The debt payment strains next month's budget. That strain sends the next surprise onto the card too. Now you're borrowing to cover borrowing, the exact trap that keeps hardworking people stuck for years. An emergency fund is how you break the first domino before it ever falls. It's not exciting, it's just powerful. So how much do you actually need? The answer comes in stages, and the first stage is smaller and more doable than you think. Start with a starter emergency fund, about $1,000 or roughly 1 month of essential expenses, if that's more. This is your first milestone, and you build it as fast as you possibly can. Why start small? Because $1,000 covers the majority of everyday emergencies, most car repairs, most medical copays, most broken appliances. It stops the bleeding. It keeps the small stuff from turning into credit card debt while you work toward the bigger goal. Hitting that first $1,000 is genuinely life-changing for a lot of people. It's the moment surprises stop being catastrophes. Once you've got that starter fund, you build toward the real target. And this is the number most people have heard: 3 to 6 months of expenses. That means 3 to 6 months of your essential living costs saved in cash. If a job loss or a major setback hits, this is the money that keeps your lights on and your rent paid while you get back on your feet. Without borrowing, without panic, without taking the first desperate job that comes along. 3 months is a solid floor for most people. 6 months is stronger and better if your income is less predictable. We'll talk about which end of that range fits you. But first, one detail that changes the whole calculation: what counts as expenses. Here's the detail that trips people up. The 3 to 6 month target is based on your essential expenses, not your entire spending. Essential expenses are the things you'd still have to pay if your income disappeared tomorrow: your rent or mortgage, utilities, groceries, insurance, transportation to work, minimum debt payments, the true must-pays. What's not included: dining out, streaming subscriptions, vacations, shopping, the gym. You could pause. In a real emergency, you'd cut those anyway. This is good news because it makes your target smaller and more achievable. You're not saving 6 months of your fun times budget. You're saving 6 months of survival. Add up only the essentials and the mountain suddenly looks a lot more like a hill. Let's make it concrete with a simple example. Say your essential monthly expenses: rent, utilities, food, insurance, transportation, minimum payments, add up to $3,000 a month. Your starter fund is $1,000. Your 3-month cushion is $9,000. Your 6-month cushion is $18,000. So your full target lands somewhere between $9,000 and $18,000, depending on your situation. Does that sound like a lot? It should. It's real money, and it takes time. But you're not writing that check today. You build it in stages: $1,000 first, then 1 month, then 3, then 6, one automatic transfer at a time. The number that matters most is the next one you hit, not the final one. So within that 3 to 6 month range, or even beyond it, who should lean toward the higher end? Aim for 6 months or more if your income is unpredictable or hard to replace. That means people who are self-employed or freelance, anyone paid mostly on commission or tips, and workers in industries where layoffs are common or job searches take a long time. It also means single-income households. If one paycheck supports the whole family, that paycheck disappearing is a bigger emergency, so the cushion needs to be bigger too. And if you have dependents, a home with aging systems, or an older car, life simply has more ways to surprise you. More exposure, more cushion. When in doubt, err toward more. On the flip side, who can comfortably sit at the lower end, closer to 3 months? If you have a very stable job in a field that's always hiring, your income is predictable and quick to replace, so a smaller cushion carries you fine. A dual-income household gets a natural buffer too. If one person loses work, the other paycheck keeps things afloat while you regroup. Strong backups help as well: a partner with steady income, marketable skills, low fixed expenses, or family you could genuinely lean on in a crisis. The point isn't a magic number, it's honest self-assessment. The more secure and replaceable your income, the closer to 3 months you can sit. The more fragile it is, the more you build. Now, where should this money actually live? This matters more than people think, and there's a clear best answer. Keep your emergency fund in a high-yield savings account. It hits the 3 things an emergency fund needs perfectly. It's liquid, so you can get the money in a day when you need it. It's safe, insured by the FDIC up to $250,000, and it earns a real return. The best accounts pay around 4% right now. That means your cushion isn't just sitting there, it's quietly earning while it waits. On a $10,000 fund, 4% is about $400 a year for money you're keeping safe anyway. Liquid, safe, and earning. That's the trifecta. But just as important is where not to keep it. Let's cover the places your emergency fund should not live, because each one quietly defeats the purpose. Not in your checking account. It's too easy to spend money that's mixed in with your everyday cash. Keep it separate, out of sight, not invested in stocks. The market can drop 20 or 30% right when an emergency hits. You never want to be forced to sell at a loss to pay a bill. Emergency money is not investment money, not locked in a long CD where an early withdrawal costs a penalty, and not as cash under the mattress where it earns nothing, loses value to inflation, and can be lost or stolen. The rule: separate, safe, liquid, and earning. A high-yield savings account, and nothing fancier. Okay, the big question: how do you build this when money is already tight? The answer is smaller and simpler than you fear. Automate a little consistently. Open a separate high-yield savings account and set up an automatic transfer for whatever you can, even $10, $20, or $25 a payday. The exact amount matters far less than the automation. When it happens automatically, before you can spend it, it happens. $25 a week is $1,300 in a year. There's your starter fund, almost without noticing. Every raise, every windfall, send a slice straight to the fund. You don't need a big income to build this. You need a small, automatic, boring habit. That's it. If even that feels impossible right now, let's find the money, because it's usually hiding in plain sight. Start with one recurring expense you won't miss, a subscription you forgot about, a plan you can downgrade, a habit you can trim for a few months. Redirect it straight to the fund, then use the windfalls. Your tax refund is often the fastest way to build a starter fund overnight. The average refund is thousands of dollars. A bonus, a birthday check, cash from selling stuff, a few hours of side work. Send it all to the emergency fund first. You don't have to find it all at once. You just have to point whatever you find in the right direction on purpose. Here's a question that trips people up. Should you build your emergency fund before paying off debt or after? The order actually matters. Most experts agree on this. Build the small starter fund first, that $1,000, before you throw everything at debt. Here's the logic. If you pour every spare dollar at your credit cards with nothing saved, the very next emergency goes right back onto the card and you're running in place. So, starter fund first. Then attack high-interest debt aggressively. Then, once the toxic debt is gone, build the full 3 to 6 month cushion. That sequence keeps you from the trap of paying down debt and reborrowing forever. Cushion, then debt, then full cushion. One last thing people get wrong, actually using the fund and refilling it. When a true emergency hits, use the money. That's what it's for. Don't feel guilty, and don't reach for a credit card to protect a savings number. The whole reason you built it was for exactly this moment. Using it isn't failure. It's the plan working perfectly. Then, once the crisis passes, your top financial priority becomes simple. Refill it. Redirect your spare cash back to the fund until it's whole again, so you're ready for the next surprise. An emergency fund isn't a trophy you keep forever untouched. It's a tool you use, refill, and use again. Spend it on real emergencies, guilt-free, then build it back. Let's turn this into a plan. First, the do's, general principles, not personalized advice. Do start with a $1,000 starter fund as fast as you can before anything else. Do build toward 3 to 6 months of essential expenses, more if your income is unpredictable. Do keep it in a separate high-yield savings account, liquid, insured, and earning. And do automate a small transfer every payday so it grows without willpower. Do those 4 things. Start small, target the essentials, park it in high-yield savings, and automate, and you'll build the single most stabilizing thing in your entire financial life. The cushion doesn't just protect your money, it protects your peace of mind. Now the don'ts, the mistakes that keep people exposed. Don't wait until you can save a lot. The person who saves $25 a week beats the person waiting for the perfect moment. Don't keep it in checking, where it quietly gets spent, or in stocks, where it can crash exactly when you need it. Don't raid it for non-emergencies. A sale is not an emergency, and every raid resets your progress. And don't skip the starter fund to throw everything at debt. You'll just reborrow at the next surprise. Finally, don't get discouraged if you're starting from zero. Nearly a quarter of the country is right there with you. The only move that matters is the next automatic transfer. Let's recap by the numbers. An emergency fund is cash set aside for unexpected, necessary, urgent expenses. Your financial shock absorber. Start with a $1,000 starter fund. Then build to 3 to 6 months of essential expenses, 6 or more if your income is unpredictable or you're the only earner. Keep it in a high-yield savings account, liquid, FDIC insured, and earning around 4%, never in checking, stocks, or a locked CD. The reality check, nearly 1 in 4 Americans has nothing saved, and only about 46% can cover 3 months. A third would borrow for a $1,000 surprise. The order, starter fund, then high-interest debt, then the full cushion. Automate it and start today. Here's the real takeaway. The emergency fund is the least exciting and most important account you will ever build. It's not about getting rich. It's about never being one surprise away from disaster. It's the foundation the rest of your money life is built on, and you can start it this week with a single automatic transfer. At USAFinance, that's the whole mission. Hand you what you need to get, keep, and grow your money. Sourced, in plain English, never advice. If this gave you a clear next step, subscribe. It's free, and it's how we keep going. And next time, once your cushion is set, we go from saving to growing. Why most professional investors can't beat one simple index fund, the S&P 500, in the data. I'm Don Blake. Make your money work. We'll see you next time.